Black Knight is a new live-action 6-episode South Korean show on Netflix. It's loosely based on the manga series Delivery Night by Lee YunGyun and features the same VFX team that produced Squid Game. The show is set in a dystopian future where the remaining 1% of humanity relies on specialized delivery drivers, or knights, to provide oxygen and supplies to survive. On this podcast, we like to discuss the most recent installment of a different series every show. We're looking at episode 1. It's May 16th. Welcome to today's episode. So before we begin this, there's a couple things that we should get qualifiers out of the way. First of all, we're probably going to massacre a lot of these names, and we're going to do it with confidence. That's the main key. The other thing is that if anybody hasn't seen the trailer for Alienoid, a South Korean film that came out, and it's kind of like Marvel's Avengers mixed with everything else in the world. Alienoid. I'm going to show it to you after this podcast. But they should go pause this and then check that out and then come back to it because it is so entertaining. All right, but let's do another entertaining thing and start off with a game. So Black Knight is a very common name in not only TV but also movies.
I know it's a comic book, I think.
Yes, it's also a Marvel series comic book, but this is also based off the manga comics, so it's very confusing. But I've got 4 different versions of Black Knight, and one of them isn't actually true. Okay. You know, that makes sense?
Yeah.
All right, so in 2001, there was a comedy starring Martin Lawrence as a theme park employee who was transferred through time to medieval England called Black Knight.
I feel like I've heard of that even.
A 2003 Power Rangers spin-off direct-to-video movie about a group of Camelot teens that train and morph into Black Knights on the Round Table. Oh, like Knights on the Round Table.
Yeah, right.
All right. And then in 2017, Black Knight, a twisted love story K-drama about a woman who is cursed with immortality after murdering her husband and servant in a jealous rage. And lastly, out of the 4, Black Knight is one of the 2 upcoming adult animated films by Genndy Tartakovsky. Do you remember the name of the first one?
No, I remember your other one.
It was fixed. It was fixed about the dog.
Was the dogs. Yeah,
but this one's the other one about a knight who transforms into Black Knight after failing to protect his king.
I will go.
Which one is fake?
The third one.
The third one,
Korean
the twisted
drama.
love story K-drama, is completely true. So they've created 2 Korean works in the last 5 years with the same name. Originally, again, the manga is called Delivery Night. I think that was the working title for this, but they decided to change it because maybe
Delivery Night.
It's
yeah,
cool.
Well, actually, in the show, they're referred to as Delivery Men.
Yes, of course
maybe that's the reason why they didn't want to go Delivery Night, because that was too different. What was the one that was fake?
The fake one was the Power Rangers one. There was no Power Rangers spin-off direct-to-video called Black Knight.
It sounds exactly like something the Power Rangers would do, though.
Well, thank you. Do you want to know the budget on this whole thing?
Yes, please, tell me.
25 billion won.
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to say
okay,
dollars.
Yeah, it actually converts to $2 trillion.
Okay, what is it actually?
$19 million.
$19 million?
Yeah.
Actually, for a TV show, that's not too much. I mean, I know it's only 6 episodes. That did grab my attention at the very beginning of this. But, I mean, I feel like every single episode for TV must be around $1 million or something like that.
Yeah, most Korean things, I remember The Good, the Bad, and the Weird,
yeah.
Right? That one had a huge cast. It had pyrotechnics. It had really cool-looking graphics and visual effects, and yet it didn't cost a nickel compared to what a Marvel movie would cost.
Under $10 million or something.
Yeah, we should get more like that. It also reminds me, after seeing reviews for a Korean series like this, that we will never run out of TV shows. Even if all the American TV shows, if this writer's strike goes on forever and no one ever writes anything again, we will still be able to do this podcast because there will be enough TV series that I've never heard of from all these different places. But we'll get into that when we start talking about the actual cast. But first, let's jump into the actual show. This is about a legendary delivery driver named 5-8 with an exceptional skill set. And then he starts to train, a refugee?
We haven't gone there yet, actually.
Oh, shit.
In the summary, I feel like that's where the show was originally going to go anyways, though.
Okay.
40 years ago, a comet collided with Earth, causing the Korean peninsula to turn into a desert. Only 1% of people survived. Scarcity of resources led to division in population. So this show actually does kind of deal with, commentary on, I guess, the social class system.
It also climate change a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, I would say so, except I don't think...
I know the comet isn't really what we're expecting with climate change, but, who knows?
I mean, yeah, basically everyone is separated by QR codes distinguished by general, special, or core districts, and anyone who is not lucky enough to get these QR codes is just kind of refugees left out in the open having to try and find their own way.
This reminds me a lot of that one series of books, Divergent. where
Yeah.
she's like trying out, and if you don't make the squads of like groups of people who become parts of society, you get stuck in like the streets and becoming a refugee.
And also something like Hunger Games, where it was like you had the 12 districts and originally
any sort of
13.
dystopian thing. And is it like a teenage thing? Are they all teenagers or what's
Actually,
going on there?
yeah, so you do have some teenagers, which was surprising because the first character we see is 5'8". He's a delivery man, and one thing we learned,
legendary delivery man.
yeah, legendary, and every single refugee wants to be a delivery man because what they do is they take these resources to all these different refugees.
They have the
give it to
riskiest
them.
but coolest sounding job, right?
Yeah.
But do they also get the perks of that? Do they get like a really nice house or
We don't see where 5'8" lives.
So this is all about the heroism.
It's all about the danger, really. The first scene, we see these hunters. Hunters are people that always kind of try to take over these delivery buses that are given to them and always try to take the resources for
Steal
themselves.
the oxygen and stuff.
5'8" was such a cool character to follow, though, because you see him just, like, run into a ton of different cars, shooting people. I mean, like, the first 5 minutes of this show really got me entertained, and kind of where the teenager character comes into play, Saul is actually in the next scene.
Yeah.
And I was surprisingly mad that we were following Saul because 5'8", just as a character himself, whenever
You just wanted to follow that guy.
Yeah, whenever he's fighting anyone, like, I mean, it's almost a little bit of a con for the show by how cool I thought 5'8" was as the main character.
All right, so he's like, is this the beginning of a Fast and franchise type series where like they're just going to introduce a lot of members into this one guy's gang and he's like the main leader?
It didn't remind me as much as Fast and Furious, as much as like Mad Max Fury Road. I have a ton of different
super
things
dusty.
Think of any type of post-apocalyptic movie or TV show. I have listed here The Night Agent, which I know is not one of those things, but there's so much action in it, and it's
also
so
Netflix,
well shot. Yeah, so Netflix. But then the post-apocalyptic shows, The Walking Dead, The Stand, The 100, Raised by Wolves, The Last of Us, Why the Last Man.
So besides this group that's trying to take over the Black Knights or steal their stuff, what is the threat?
Well, those are really just the hunters are the main threat. Like even Saul,
for the first episode, they don't introduce any other like bad guy.
No, I mean that we do have a quick scene where it seemed like in the best place to be, which was the special district, or one of the best places. There's a Madam President. She is talking about how apparently that place is too overpopulated. There's a lot of mental health problems, and she's speaking to two other characters that I'm assuming are evil, talking about this plan of a relocation plan. I think that was setting up for them to be villains. However, I wasn't actually a huge fan of that scene because I felt like it was just thrown in.
Was it like The Expanse where you didn't like the Earth stuff because it was so diplomatic and it was always just about like politics?
Well, it's not that it was diplomatic. The scene itself was fine. I just felt like they never go back to it in this episode. And I felt like it was just there to introduce a character so that we know them for later on.
The name that might remind you is Changyang Group, which is supposed to be the villain of the series.
Yes,
because they rule basically oxygen and its dispersal, and that's where the Mad Max Fury Road comparison is huge, because obviously that was with water, and the person at the top had the control of all the water that was being dispersed.
Actually,
but the leader there...
Okay, I was just going to say, funny enough, Rango as well dealt with a similar situation when talking about like water.
It's always a resource.
Yeah, exactly.
Oil or water or oxygen, but Ryo Sok, he is supposed to be the main bad guy. And if you didn't see him, I'm kind of bummed because he would be the most familiar face for you.
I mean, he might have been one of the people that joins the Madam President in that scene.
He was played by Song Sung-hyun, who you may recognize from Black. He was the main character in that. He played the Grim Reaper who like fell in love and like the whole character.
The other Korean
He was
show.
the main guy.
He might have been because there was such a big introduction to this character going to this meeting. Like they literally spend a full minute on him just in the car and like showing multiple shots of him. He probably and thinking about the Black TV show, he probably was that.
Was he
character
like about 40 some years old? He's the one who knew the director of this from the director's first film. Like they'd basically grown up in the industry together.
Oh, interesting.
So that was pretty cool. But besides them, who besides 5'8" do you see then?
Yeah, so you see Saul. He's a teenager. He wants to be a delivery man really bad. In fact, his first scene, you see him take out 7 hunters, and they're trying to really his teenage group is trying to take their oxygen masks and everything.
So he's stealing from the people who've stolen.
Yeah, I should also mention that it seems like every single person in this TV show always is wearing an oxygen mask, especially
a respirator. Yeah, because they need to breathe.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
the air is bad and polluted.
Yeah, 5'8" is even talking talking about that in the intro scene about what they did to try and make the
Does
air
anybody
better.
fight dirty and just grab at the tube and like pull it out?
No, I haven't seen that happen as of yet.
I feel like that would be my go-to move in a world like this. If someone was trying to hurt me, I would just be like, bad tube, and then like they would suffocate and die.
The weird thing about the Saw Wool taking out 7 Hunters scene was it was so different from the tone of the first scene. This one felt more comedic, and I was a little bit getting
How was he
worried.
doing it though? Was it just his action skills?
You literally just see him like going
But he
around
doesn't have a
punching
gun?
people. No, they don't have a gun at all. You see them having baseball bats, the hunters, and different types of weapons, but nothing like
No gun violence.
as serious as that. Yeah, and then you also see 5'8". He's apparently going to different places. He knows how to make oxygen better in these like districts.
Perfect it or like take out the bad qualities in it?
Exactly. When you see him go to the general district, he's
Filter
even
it.
talking to this older person, and he's like, you had to get me before it was going to get to 20% oxygen level, and this is at 22%. Like, you need to be more careful. And then this is what I mean by so much action. After we get that short little scene where we see 5'8" kind of helping out with the oxygen, he gets an alert on his phone. It's an emergency thing. And one of the other delivery men, 5'7", apparently is getting tortured by 8 hunters. So not only have we gotten the beginning scene where we've already seen 5'8" take out a ton of people with like just guns and his like motoring skills, we've seen Saw Wool take out 7 hunters. Now
it also sounds like the hunters outnumber the Black Knights by a lot.
Yeah, and
the Black Knights are ninjas.
That's why I was thinking that there was maybe they were trying to show just how like crime-ridden the refugees world is.
Is everybody who is a hunter in the refugee camp?
I mean, yeah, I think
Got
so. Because I think we've already seen that if they're in the general, special, and core districts,
Then
for the
they're-
most
then they're all
part,
good.
they're pretty much fine. Yeah, but then so we see then 5'8" take out 8 hunters after already like 20 people have died or gotten injured in this show. But yeah,
Is it easy to count them, or are you just like keeping
I had
track
to
in your
turn
head?
on the subtitles because it was
What,
always
does he
just
count
like
them as he's
yeah,
filling them up?
no, it's not like Deadpool, but you do see
Or
like Hunter
Legolas,
1,
yeah.
just falling down and everything like that. So we see 5'8", he takes out all the hunters. That was a more dramatic and intense scene, so I felt like they were also maybe trying to like change the tone and show just
Sure.
how different the worlds are.
It just feels like every scene to you is one character coming in, killing a bunch of hunters, and you just describing to me that happening like 5 different times.
It's not only that. It's like Saul like walks to his house, and we learn that even though Saul is a refugee, I think in the general district he is being he's given shelter by this person named Major Jung Sula.
Okay.
She has a fight scene with him in the first 2 minutes, and this is the person that is giving him shelter to live in.
But is she training him?
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
But again, for 10 minutes, it's like we've already had 4 action scenes in this.
Not
scene.
enough. They need more action.
Not only training him, though, I should also mention that she does discipline him.
It says that she is a military intelligence officer with Defense Intelligence Command and Sewol's older adoptive sister. So this must be some sort of orphanage, maybe, or they literally adopted him and the family there is.
Well, I don't think they're
parents.
adopting him. I think what it is that they are literally giving him shelter. But if anyone figures out that this is happening because he doesn't have a QR code and they do, it means like death or something like that. We even see when he's walking to his house a child being taken away because the child didn't have a QR code.
Okay.
So we learned that like the stakes for this are
Nazi
very
Germany-ish.
big.
Yeah.
No,
Alright.
I think that and so. Not only that, though, she's disciplining him. When he finally confesses that he was out and beating up all these hunters and trying to take their stuff, she's like kicking him while he's down, trying to give him punishment for that. And I guess whenever we were following Saul Wool's character, it always just felt like kind of too young adult for me because it was like I just felt like we'd seen that a million times before.
It turned into Gotham Knights, maybe a little bit more teen friendly than you want it to be.
Yeah, I think so.
Like center on like with Squid Game, it was also had some goofy moments, but it wasn't like a teenager show.
And it always stuck with the main premise of Squid Game.
And there was always the main guy.
Right.
There's always one guy.
And there's always people dying as well, even though you can compare those two separate TV shows. But so we learned that his punishment is that for 2 weeks he's going to be grounded. I'm assuming just kind of stuck to his house. The weird thing about this punishment is that he's given a full day to kind of do whatever he wants to do before the punishment.
Huh.
I didn't really understand it that much.
And the last show we did, the New York one, whatever that was called, the kid was grounded too. The City on Fire.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, the thing is that the Major Jung Soo character, She is not like at the house at all. So really, when it comes down to like the brother-sister dynamic that you were talking about, the sister is kind of the one that's having to keep him in check.
But she doesn't hang out with like any of the Black Knights either.
The only time we see the sister in this show is when she's at her house in the general district.
Yeah, people are kind of shipping her with 5'8".
Oh no! The age difference there is so crazy. Is there? Yeah,
I mean, I don't even think that it is. I think they're basically the same age in real life.
There's a scene near the end where 5'8", because 5'7" was so hurt in that attack with the hunters, gives her a delivery package, and again, 5'8" being such a legend, she takes a selfie with him. And in
how
the
old
selfie,
do you think 5'8" is in real life?
I would say maybe close to 30.
Yeah, he's like 33. How old do you think that she is?
I think that I thought like early 20s maybe.
No, I think she's like 32.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, she's playing so much younger.
Maybe that's why.
See the show.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I think she's supposed to be playing maybe early 20s.
All right.
But yeah, so he doesn't really care. He's going out with his friends. They're wreaking havoc. In fact, there's even a funny scene where they try to, since they all want to be delivery men, they all try to get onto 5'8's truck. Like 5'8 is just driving around, and they all run after his truck, and he's not able to see anything at first, but then he checks the cameras on the top of the car.
Does he laugh? Does he smile? Is he
no,
like,
he's mad about it. He starts like whipping the car around, and like everyone is able to get off.
Vehicular manslaughter? All right.
Well, I mean, it's dust, so I assume that's not as bad, but Sewol, he's the only one that's able to actually get inside the truck. I think that was to try and show that not only is he a good fighter, as we've seen at the very beginning,
he's committed,
but he's the most committed, to being an actual delivery man driver. However, like right after that is like 5'8" punches him once and he flies out the truck. Like, you see the car door just
So the show's
open.
funny, right?
Yeah, I mean, it has funny moments in it.
Like that? And did you overall think that that was a pro for it? Or?
Yeah, I would say it's a pro for it.
Yeah.
It also kind of had heartfelt moments. At the very end of the show, we do see kind of 5'8". He's walking through this very run-down part of town.
Yeah.
It's the only part, I feel like, in the show where we've seen multiple people at.
Yeah.
And you see him talking to this very young girl. She apparently knows who 5'8" is, but doesn't know that's who she's talking to.
That seems weird.
Is
he wearing a mask or what?
No, he's literally just out in the open, but she's reading a book.
Oh, so she knows. Okay, gotcha.
And so she's like, I'm going to be a delivery man when I'm older, and then 5'8" even gives her a hat that says 5'8" on it. I think it might have even been his hat that he was wearing.
I would think so. I don't think he just keeps 5'8" like promotional material with him.
The biggest part of the show, though, like what I feel like the next 5 episodes is going to depend on happens in the final 10 minutes of this thing.
Cool.
Because we learned that 5'8", he's ordering men to go to a special district where the Air Corps is.
Like a different district than the first 3 that you talked about?
Well, right now I think that they're outside all the 3 districts. They're in just this refugee place.
Yeah, but which district is he telling them to go to?
I think he's going to tell them to go to the special district because I believe that the special district has this Air Corps. Because we learned at the very beginning of the episode through kind of actually this this cartoon or comic book like thing from 5'8's narration that they built this giant Air Corps. So because the air was so polluted and so bad, we even see during some scenes like in the general district.
Yeah, I think it's probably Chamyang Group. Like that, what you're describing is probably their like holdings or their building or whatever.
Right, and we learn that 5'8 when he's like talking to all these different people, and we see he's even marching with them through this through where they are at that moment.
Yeah,
that they're going to need to go to the special district and kind of figure out what's going on with this construction plan, as well as just like check out the
if there's corruption, if there's conspiracy, if they can solve it. I guess.
Yes.
What will they do? Just beat people up until it stops?
I feel like that's what the show is kind of saying it up for. Sure. Also, we learn at the very end of the episode that after 5'8 delivers a package to the sister, I don't want to, because her name is so closely related to the mom, I'm just going to call her the sister. So 5'8 ends up leaving, and then assassins from out of nowhere, and we should also mention the fact that the sister locked up Sewol for like going out with his friends again and meeting 5'8 and all of that different stuff in a separate room.
Yes,
that was part of the episode.
So these assassins
come
after
in
5'8
out of nowhere. Sewol is able to make it out of the room, but it seems like both of them are actually taking out the sister. Seems like she's dead, and then Sewol gets a headshot. I'm not sure.
He gets a headshot?
I'm not sure if that's where the episode was trying to say that they're actually dead.
So 5'8 isn't anywhere around this.
5'8, yeah. After 5'8 delivers the package, the final 5 minutes are the assassins coming in. Yeah.
Okay.
And we actually see Sewol. He's pretty good with a gun. He's able to take out, it seems like, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. The headshot, though, it gets me kind of worried because I didn't like Sewol's character that much, even though you're kind of supposed to.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah, he has to still be alive.
He's not dead.
The thing that got me more worried, though, was that when the sister died, I was sad, and I was like, oh, okay, look, the show is not like it's able to kill off characters. It seems
There's no plot armor.
It seems like though that sister,
There is plot armor.
if Saul is alive, the sister
Then
is also
Isam,
going to
yeah,
be alive.
the person who plays her is Isam. That's her stage name, I guess. I don't know what her real name is. But what would you give the review as a total?
Overall, I would give the show a 7 out of 10 because I did
good.
following 5/8 storyline. I thought that the action was well done. It was just Saul's storyline that felt so kind of kid friendly in the end, and also some parts just felt thrown in. Like I said, the Madam President storyline, and I think part of the reason why maybe that part where I was talking about the Air Corps show, like where they're having to go to the Air Corps storyline, might have been so jumbled, is because there were different parts of the show where it felt like I was kind of zoning out because they didn't feel like what they were saying was that important.
So a little boring at parts.
In different parts. But overall, I still feel like the show is a 7 out of 10. And if we follow 5/8 storyline throughout majority of the next 5 episodes, I could definitely see myself giving an overall rating of 8 out of 10.
What do you think about shows, because it happens a lot when they're not in the U.S., that don't have titles, like, or just episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4?
This is the same way I saw that.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Do you like that, or do you not like that?
I mean, with the U.S., I always like it because you're able to see, usually...
So you do like titles?
Yeah, I do like titles because, especially when, like, the title is something that the character says themselves. Here, though, I mean, I didn't really have that
I feel like
that
everybody tries to be really creative with them, and sometimes they work, and sometimes they're really long and hard to remember. Your review on it is just a little bit more positive, I think, than the overall reception. The Verge said it was a mix of Mad Max and Death Stranding. There were a lot of comparisons. The Collider said Netflix series is Fury Road meets Silo, which that's a compliment. Decider said stream it. Guardian gave it 3 stars, but said... There's some good news. All survivors are simply gorgeous and have excellent haircuts. It's almost as if the comment was set by a superior civilization bent on eradicating all ugly humans and nipping that mullet revival in the bud.
I mean...
Were they all very attractive?
I really was not paying that much attention to it.
This reviewer was. Not me, but the Guardian. 6.2 on IMDb. And I see here there's a note that says that everybody stays at home because they're playing video games. Is this like a Wall-E scenario?
Yeah, so you do see kind of like Oculus being used.
Yeah.
In fact, you see the sister use it a lot. She's even like walking through the park as an animated character. And
Does it look like Facebook's Meta?
Yeah, almost, I would say, actually, for that scene. But there's also a scene where Saul is playing as 5'8" and this, like, fighting wrestling simulator.
Okay.
And that does not look like the metaverse.
Wait, so let me get this straight. So it takes place in 2071, and you said that 40 years earlier, so 2031, that's when the comic went up? Or is it 1980, like something?
So I felt like it was actually, I thought it was present day 2023 because we see different cars and like what seemed like normal everyday modern life, and then we just see the comic come down.
It would make more sense with the VR stuff that it was 2031 and that was 40 years before, so it's 2071
Okay,
now.
So it was in the near future, because I'm not sure if we ever are actually told that.
Well, all right. I do know that the characters, the people who played them, they jumped into this mostly because of the director, whose name is Cho Wi-sok. Remember what I said about how there are so many Korean shows out there that you have no idea about?
Yeah, obviously.
And all of these people have worked on other things before.
Right.
And I want to see if you can guess what they haven't worked on. So I'm going to give you 4 different TV show names for each of them and see if you can guess out of all 4 characters how many you can get right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So with Kim Woo Bin, that's the guy who played 5'8", right? He was in a show called Vampire Idol. He was in a show called Uncontrollably Fond. He was in a show called Gentleman's Dignity, or he's in a show called Mousetrap.
I'm going to go with Mousetrap.
That's correct, and it annoys me that you got it because you probably got it because I just said that he is in it currently. Song Song Hyun, she's in a show called Popcorn. She's in a show called, or was in a show called Fate Predetermined. She's in a show called 3 Guys and 3 Girls. That was a sitcom. Or she was in a show called Voice 4. See, I mixed it up there so that you wouldn't know which one it was.
I'm going to go with Popcorn.
Fate Predetermined. Popcorn's a real show.
I went with Popcorn because really the reason that I chose Mousetrap last time was I thought it was the funniest title, and I thought that Popcorn was the funniest title this time.
You thought Mousetrap was funnier than Vampire Idol?
Yeah.
King Yu-sok, he was in a show called Employee Circus. He was in a show called Dr. Romantic 2. He was in a show called
That one. No, Dr. Romantic 2.
Wait till I'm done. Quiz from God Reboot, or I Have Not Done My Best Yet.
I feel like it's Romantic Doctor 2.
Please name off the shows that I just said because of how ridiculous they are, though.
Okay, you had.
The actual answer is Employee Circus. I took the most reasonable one. He has been in Dr. Romantic 2, Quiz from God reboot, and I have not done my best yet. All right, and the last one, Isom, has been in a show called Taxi Driver, has been in a show called Save Me 2, has been in a show called Bride to Lee, and then has also been in a show called Because This Is My First Life.
Okay, I've gotten 1 for 3 right, and I'll consider it a success if I got 2 right. I think I've heard of it. Was it Taxi Driver that you said?
Taxi Driver is a very famous movie.
Well, no,
yeah, it's also a Korean drama.
Yeah, so I think I've heard of that. And then what were the other 3 that you?
Save Me 2, Bride to Lee, Because This Is My First Life.
Because This Is My First Life
is 100% a real TV show.
And then so is it Save Me 2?
It's Bride to Lee.
Bride to Lee?
Yeah, like Bride to Be, but Bride to Lee.
Oh, like, okay.
It was a pun.
I didn't even know that that's what you were saying. I thought that Bride to Lee was like some type of Korean word or something.
Overall, what would you give the show? You said a 7, right?
Yeah, and I do want to point out the cinematography for this thing. Whenever you're talking
the VFX?
Yeah, the
again,
VFX.
Squid Game.
Yeah.
Same people.
But, like, even the way that they're able to make the sky look, one of my favorite parts of the episode is you're able to see 5/8, and he's walking through this sandstorm. It reminded me a lot of the Hateful Eight when they're having to set up things in the snow. But here it was, like, all brown, and it just looked beautiful.
So it's like Dune. It was like...
yes. Yeah, I would say almost
it was like Mad Max, yeah. But it's just a filter. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.